Hey everyone, I am so pumped today because as a guest, we have a very special guest today. Everybody's a special guest, but today you're extra special guest. We have Gina Nolan. Hello, Gina.
Hi.
All the way from Pensacola, Florida.
That's right.
And the reason I say you're extra special is because you were selected as a choreographer for the 2017 Shimmy Mob dance. So it holds a special extra spot in my heart. So that's why it's the extra special. So Gina, for the people that don't know you, I would love, and actually I would like to know this for myself because I don't know, and I like to get to know you a little better. How did you get into dance? I saw that in your application, you have a degree in dance.
Yes.
So how did it all start? Where did the dance start? How did you get into belly dance? Can you share that?
Absolutely. Okay, well, I've been dancing since I was 9 years old, so I'm going to age myself. I just turned 50. So since 1976.
And you look amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I started dancing for fun, taking tap, ballet, jazz, and then later modern. And anyway, I just kept going with that. I didn't develop a talent for dance until I was 13 years old. Prior to 13, I really sucked. My teachers were very close to telling my parents, you need to try tennis or something. Yeah, it's true. And then at 13, something happened. Mind, body started connecting. And at the same time, I was having problems in school with bullying and not, my dad had gotten transferred from one city to a small town. And it didn't go well for me. And as a result, I began to get bullied. I was different. I was in the arts. I was in a small rural town in North Carolina. And it was just rough for me there. So the more I got bullied, the more I retreated into my dance rehearsals. And at one point, my teacher said, we've taught you everything you can learn. You need to start going to conventions with us and that sort of thing. So I started just excelling and getting better, and that became my refuge. And also I loved it. I've always loved to dance, period, plain and simple. So finally, it got to the point where I went to college and I decided to major in dance because I loved it so much. And I always had the idea that I was going to double major. But once I got into the dance department, my degree is from East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina. Once I got in the department, I was so immersed in dance and musical theater that I literally didn't have the physical or mental energy to double major. I mean, I was in rehearsals until midnight. I would come home and have to study for an academic. It just took its toll on me. So I decided to just focus on dance, thinking I can always go back to school one day. Anyway, that's what I thought at the time. So I just focused my life on dance. And after graduation, I started my dance career, which my background is mostly in ballet and jazz, a little bit of modern. I suck at tap, but I have a background in all of it. But I consider myself mainly a jazz dancer who has really strong ballet technique. So I used to laughingly call myself a jazzerina. And my forte was musical theater, Broadway type jazz dance. So I started my journey as a dancer and I started auditioning. I did what all normal dancers do, the theme parks, the outdoor dramas, the musical theater, the summer theater, the dinner theater, I think I said theme parks already, the cruise ships. Finally, I ended up in Las Vegas. I really got tired of trying to be a triple threat and working with my voice, which I'm not a very good singer, and acting abilities, better actor than I am singer. And I really didn't want to move to New York. I wanted the independence of being able to drive somewhere and just dance, because that was always my first love. So I moved to Las Vegas and I danced in Siegfried and Roy show for 4 years and left there with a major overuse injury involving my SI joint in my pelvis. And left there and went to Tournament of Kings at the Excalibur and left there with a major knee injury. So after that knee injury, I had surgery. I had ACL reconstruction and meniscectomy. So I tore my meniscus, my cartilage, as well as my ligament, completely torn. So I had the repair, and then after that, I used Pilates with the apparatus as part of my post-rehab. I had also used it as post-rehab for all my other injuries, and I was using it so much, as well as my normal conditioning as a dancer, I thought I might as well get certified. So I got certified, and I was teaching Pilates for a living, not knowing whether or not I was going to go back to dancing, because at this point I'm 32 years old. So I'm not young and I'm not old, and Las Vegas is Las Vegas. There's all the dancers there are fierce competition. So I didn't know what was going to happen. So I thought, let me just focus on Pilates. So I'm teaching Pilates, and I'm really not making my bills. So I'm working full time, but I needed another job to supplement. So I answered an audition call from the Dancers Trade page, which was called, it was called the Dirt Alert at the time. Now they've changed it. It's called the Callback, and it's the paper that publishes all the audition notices. Good Lord, I don't know how it's done now. It's probably all online, and but back in the day, it was a paper that you got. Mm-hmm. And I answered an audition call for what I thought was character work at the Aladdin Hotel and Casino. And at the time, I had done character work as Cleopatra, as handmaidens, and so forth at Caesar's Palace. I know I'm very white and red-headed, but you're in tons of makeup and wigs, when you're Cleopatra. So whatever. So I had done that. So I thought maybe this job was going to be the same. So I show up at the audition, and there's a dance audition. And I kind of freak out because I'm like, oh my gosh, do I tell people I had surgery 8 months ago? And I'm like, no, don't say anything. This is a part-time job. You have a full-time job teaching Pilates. Just go and see what you can do. If it hurts, walk out. It's not worth it. So I did the audition. The audition went great. It was not Oriental dance. It was a stylized jazz routine with some Indian kind of, I don't know, accents, but it wasn't belly dance. And it felt really good to dance again. And I got the job. And when I got the job, I was told, you're going to be part of a troupe of dancers called the Jewels, and you're going to be belly dancers. Mm. And all of us that were hired for this job, none of us were authentic belly dancers. We were all jazz dancers, showgirls, hip hoppers. I don't think there was any ballerinas in the group, but we were everything but belly dancers.
Who put it together? Who was behind that?
It was Best Models and Talent.
Okay.
That was the production company, and they worked for the Aladdin Hotel and Casino at the time. And this was 2000, the year 2000. And they brought in a belly dance teacher to teach us technique and also teach us choreographed routines. We were to travel inside the hotel and casino and do certain choreographed shows and slot promotion giveaways and different improvised shows with costume characters that were actors. Mm-hmm. So, and I also had a swing position as one of the actresses. So I also played, when I wasn't belly dancing, I was playing Princess Scheherazade, and I was on the mic doing all kinds of giveaways and stuff. That was fun. That costume was gorgeous. Anyway.
Do you have photos of these?
I do. I have to dig them out of the vault.
You need to post these. We want to see them.
I will. Some of them might be on my Facebook under Gina Nolan. Maybe. I'm not sure. I think some of them are on there. But anyway, all of the costumes were fabulous because wardrobe, they spared no expense. They were all Madame Abla costumes at the time. They were fabulous. And Princess Scheherazade was something they made up. It was equally fabulous. It looked kind of Persian. But anyway, that job, they brought in the belly dance teacher. I have to give her name, Angela Palmieri Davis. And she's in Las Vegas. She's still there. She's still teaching. She's younger than me, much younger. And it's hard to find out about her because she's very humble. And she's not on Facebook. She doesn't have a website. Who knows if she even has a cell phone at this point. It took her forever to get a cell phone. She's just very humble, very, I don't know. She's just all about her art and her craft. She teaches at the community college there in Las Vegas. I can't think of the name. But anyway, she taught us the choreographies and the technique. And we were also required to take 2 classes a month. as dancers for this job in Oriental dance, since none of us knew Oriental dance. So I actually got hooked on it because I was coming from a place where I had had knee surgery. I was scared to go back to ballet and jazz because of the turnout. And Oriental dance was something where I could work in parallel position in demi-plie, and my knees were totally okay with it. So I got so excited about it. Not only was I excited about dancing again, but I was excited about this brand new dance that I never knew anything about it. Prior to this job, I knew that I loved belly dance costumes. I always wanted to be a belly dancer for Halloween because I thought the costumes were fabulous, but I was totally ignorant. I didn't know anything about it. So I really got hooked, and I kept studying with Angela, as well as another teacher, Donna Mashon, whose stage name is Nadia Yusuf, I think. And she's in New Mexico now. I also had so I had an American cab teacher, I had an Egyptian teacher, I had a Turkish teacher, I had a tribal type teacher, and I spent all my money, every pennies I could rub together. I was in dance class studying with all these people. I just couldn't get enough. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I liked. I just kept studying. And that's really how I started belly dancing. Now, after a while, the Aladdin Hotel and Casino is not there anymore, I understand. Las Vegas turns over. Oh my gosh, it's not. I left there in 2003, and it's completely different now. There are casinos there now I've never heard of. Casinos that were there when I was there have been imploded. They're gone. So when I was there, the Aladdin was connected to a shopping mall called the Desert Passage. And the Desert Passage had their own separate show of belly dancers, plus a live Arabic band, plus Moroccan acrobats, plus Russian gymnasts that did hand balancing routines and stuff. I used to work with those guys all the time. And I used to see them on the Aladdin side, and I would look over to the shopping mall and I would see them, and I wanted to do what they were doing because they were the legit belly dancers, like the people they were the real belly dancers dancing with the Arabic band. So there came a time when the program at the Aladdin switched production companies to another production company. And when it did, the program wasn't as good, in my opinion. And I really wanted to go over to the other side anyway. So I found a way to audition for the other side, which was a different production company. I auditioned and got the job. And so then I started dancing for the Desert Passage side. And I worked with a live Arabic band. Amir Sophie was the drummer. They were all seasoned professional musicians. And I was a baby belly dancer. So think about that for a minute. It was both wonderful and terrifying because I'm a baby belly dancer. And here I am thrown in with having to work with Amir Sophie and all these other dudes, and these other professional belly dancers that have been belly dancing for years. So they were also some of my teachers. I worked with Donna, and Angela was there for a time, but we didn't work at the same time. So my teachers had actually worked this gig. And a lot of famous people have worked this gig since then, Belly Queen, some other groups. But it's all gone now. Now it's like Planet Hollywood or something. But that was a real training ground for me because I was thrown into the fire before I was ready. I was thrown into professional work way before I was ready. And I knew that people were watching me. I knew that the belly dance community was watching me, and I felt like I got to step it up. I know I can do this. I'm going to train twice as hard because I already come from ballet and jazz. I know how to train. So it took me a long time to get the ballet and jazz out of my look.
I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you if your background was helpful or if it was something like you have to kind of not unlearn, but kind of separate and make sure that they're not overlapping because the techniques are different.
Yeah. In the beginning, it kind of hurt me because I look like a jazz dancer trying to belly dance always. And to this day, if I've taken a reprieve and I've been out of dance for a while and I come back in, and you always go back to what you know. And if your foundation is ballet and jazz, you're going to go back to that every time. So for a long time, it hindered me. It took me about 3 years to become more Oriental. Now, having said that, I will always look like a jazz dancer to some degree because that's my background, but I found a way to really blend it that I think goes well for me personally. That's my own little niche, my own little way of presenting the dance, respecting where it came from, of course. So yeah, it was very hard at first. I remember my friend and I, we were both very interested in Oriental dance. The rest of the girls that were jazz dancers weren't so much. It was just another gig, you know. But for us, we were like, we really want to do this. You know, we're gonna figure this out. We would watch famous dancers on videos, you know, Joshua Fawad, all these people. We'd be like, that's not very hard. We can do that. And then we would try to do it. And of course we couldn't do it. You know, we couldn't figure out what is that it, you know, what is that it? It just took more training and more time. There's really no way to speed that up. Well, there is if you train all the time. And I did. I ate it, I slept it, I breathed it, you know, and that's really what it took. It was a hindrance at first, and then slowly I got to add the ballet and jazz back in, and with a nice Oriental blend. So yeah, it did take a minute though.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting though, because the reason you got into it is because you already had the jazz and ballet, right? Had you not had that, it would have been, let's just say, extremely hard and extremely challenging to get it to, you know, to perform and the group you wanted to perform that you could see from the other side, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't, you know, I hate to say this, but this is the reality of show business and everybody knows it. But at the time I was 32, and of course I didn't look 32, whatever, 32 is young and beautiful, but I'm just saying, you know, we're talking about show business here, which is rough.
Yes.
I was very thin, much thinner than I am now, had professional costumes. So of course I was getting hired, you know, because a lot of restaurant people, they don't always care so much about your ability. Not all, I'm not saying not all, but sometimes, oftentimes they will not, they really want you to be pretty and have nice costumes and that sort of thing. So I was getting hired for stuff right and left before I was ready, and I knew it. I knew it. But I had dancer ethic, and I really wanted to, it's like, okay, but I'm going to get better. I'm going to show y'all I'm going to get better and better. And I did. I feel like when I left there, I had some respect from the community. They're like, oh, it's not just a showgirl trying to, you know, learn how to belly dance. But I really worked at it so hard, so hard. And it's funny, I just feel like some things have gotten so much better since I came back after retirement because I'm older, I'm much heavier, and I just feel more Oriental. And I feel when I shimmy, I can see my shimmy. When I first started, I couldn't see my shimmy. I was 130 pounds. You know, for me, that was very, very thin. And yeah, some things have gotten a lot better in that sense.
That's cool. So you earlier said that when you started dance school as a child, at first you weren't very good at it, and it took a while to make that body-mind connection. Was that something that just you finally, do you remember if you felt differently and something just clicked in your mind? Or like, the reason I'm asking you this is because there are a lot of people that get into dance older, especially in belly dance. They don't start, not everybody starts when they're young. Actually, the majority don't. And there's always, for a lot of people, there's that disconnect at first where they, you know, the body's not doing what you're telling it to, or sometimes it's just maybe not even a full grasp of what really is supposed to be happening internally. So what was your experience, and what would you say to people who are right now in that place where they feel like this is not happening?
Yeah, I feel like there's a certain amount of interest. You have to genuinely be interested in it. When I was little, I don't remember quite what happened. I know I was around 13 when it happened. I just remember practicing, and I remember looking forward to dance class more and more. And when I got to dance class, I kept trying harder and harder. And I think part of me is naturally competitive. So if I saw other girls doing it, I'm like, well, I can do it. You know, I'm going to do that too. And I just pushed myself And then something clicked, and then I just really wanted to do it. Like, that's cool. I want my body to make that line. I subscribed to Dance Magazine, which I think is out of print now. For years, I subscribed to that magazine, and I just poured through every article, and I just wanted to train like these dancers and look like these dancers. And of course, my teachers were taking me to dance workshops. And of course, when I would go to the dance workshops, those were all the really good dancers were there. They weren't just the hobbyists. These were people training to be dancers. And I was like, that's it. That's what I want. I want to be like them. So I just kept trying to emulate, what was going on around me. But for people starting dance now, I would just say you have to really genuinely be interested in it. Enjoy the movement. If you enjoy moving your body that way, see what else you can do. See how far you can push your limit. You can really surprise yourself. And with a little practice, it's like what I tell my students. With time and practice, in my experience as a belly dance teacher, everyone gets the movement over time. If you don't practice at home and you just come to class every week, you'll get it. It'll take longer, but you'll get it. If you go home and practice and come to class every week, you're going to get it faster. So, it's accessible to you. Belly dance is accessible. So the more you enjoy it and want to do it, the better you're going to get. That's my best advice. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's really good. I think, you're right on point. If you keep doing it, eventually something will connect, even if it's not connecting. If you really want to, eventually that will happen. I remember when I was learning salsa way back, and I was having a very, very tough time connecting the footwork with one of the spins. I had such a hard time. I was getting so frustrated. I literally was crying one day, like while I was having the private lesson, I was literally crying because I just can't get this. Why can't I get this? Everybody else is getting it. I'm like, I can dance, I can do other things, but I can't get this one particular, it just was not happening. And in that particular case, unlike other moves, I just decided to just step away from it and not even look at that step for a while. And then a few weeks later, it was like, I know how to do it. I wasn't even trying to do it. It was just like this, the mind, it just kicked in while I wasn't even dancing. I get it now. I'm like, oh, Francesca, you're a bit slow.
But everybody has that thing. Everybody has that thing when they struggle with. I worked with a salsa group in Atlanta for a while. After I left Las Vegas, I moved to Atlanta and continued my studies there. And I was with the salsa group for a little bit of time. Same thing, you always go back to what you know. So I was thrown into this salsa performance group. I was really good friends with the husband and wife team that had the group. And the wife was telling me, you don't need lessons. You're already a dancer. You can pick it up. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I come from ballet. I will go back to ballet. I need to know. And what I learned from belly dance is you have to strip away those layers and get to the flavor. Get to the flavor.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have the flavor, you're going to go back to ballet and you're going to look like a perfect ballerina doing, all the moves. Yeah. And she was like, no, Gina, you don't. Well, what happened was I had the same problem with turns in salsa.
Really?
Yes. I kept trying to plie in a parallel position like I was doing a jazz pirouette. That's not how it works. I've forgotten how you do it because I haven't salsa danced in years, but I'm pretty sure it's like a ball change, straighten your legs, and then twist, something like that. It's something different than what I did as a jazz dancer. And so finally I told my partner, he's like, do you want to take a private lesson? And I said, yes, I need to figure out the technique. You never taught me the technique. I need to know, otherwise I'll go back to jazz or ballet. Yeah. So we did, and we figured out. So I totally get that. Yeah. I totally get that. And sometimes it really helps to not come from a dance background at all.
Yes. Sometimes it does, because you're not trying to pull information that is actually not the right information for what you're supposed to be doing, right?
Coming from a dance background is going to help you with picking up choreography every time, and it's going to help you with turning and spotting. Those are the two things I see coming from a classical dance background. Everything else, you got to strip it away and start over.
What would you say about posture?
Oh yeah, posture. Yeah, there's posture. Posture is super important. If you've trained in ballet and you know that you have a sway back and your pelvis is in an anterior tilt, and you know that you have that problem, you're going to try extra hard when you get to Oriental dance. Same thing, to point your tailbone down at the ground. If you don't have that background, you might just, that might take a while to break that bad habit. Yeah, posture is pretty important.
Yeah, yeah. So now you had mentioned to me before that you put on a big event once a year. Can you share about that?
Sure. It's called Spring Rocks Pensacola. Rocks, R-A-Q-S. And I just started it 2 years ago.
Nice.
So I just moved here basically 3 years ago. And my idea was to bring more dance in this area and to really focus my dance career now on teaching and choreographing. So I thought I would love to start like a dance workshop here, and ultimately bring in other artists. Well, I've done it 2 years now. And the first 2 years I taught. And it's just a one-day workshop. The first year, I think we only did a 2-hour workshop. This past year, we did a 4-hour. And next year, I've contracted Tarifa Salem to come and teach. So I'm very excited. I just studied with her in Jacksonville, where she presented the last time she's going to do in Florida, the Farah Factor. So Ibrahim Farah was before my time, before I started belly dancing. So I really am sad that I never got to train with him, but his niece is in Jacksonville, and she is a beautiful dancer in her own right. Plus she teaches a lot of his techniques. So she's been on my bucket list to study with for a while, and I finally got to study with her a few weeks ago, and it was amazing. I loved it. And she had mentioned that she was not going to do that particular workshop anymore because she doesn't want to overdo it. But I said, listen, I would love to bring you into Pensacola. Would you be interested? And she was. So I'm just totally delighted and thrilled. And she's going to be teaching a 2-hour class in the morning of April 28th, 2018. She's teaching Oriental Veil Sagat, finger cymbals, and then 2 hours in the afternoon, Asaya, cane. So I'm very excited about that. Plus, I get to just organize the event and coordinate it. I really like coordinating special events. That was something I tried to get into after my dance career, my jazz dance career in Las Vegas. I'd started doing it for a little while. I was working for a production company, coordinating special events, and I loved it. But then the economy tanked and I got laid off. And it was just a part-time job anyway, but I loved it so much. So, part of Spring Rocks Pensacola, I enjoy coordinating it and marketing for it as well as doing it. But it's the first 2 years, I have to tell you, being the artist, teaching and performing, you got to close out the show because you're the teacher. Plus coordinating the whole thing it's too much. I'm sorry, it's too much, way too much. So I'm just thrilled that not only do I get to be a student, but I get to coordinate, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of stress off of me. Where we live in Pensacola, there's a dance community here in the Gulf Coast area of Florida and to the west of us, but we're kind of spread out. So we've got Fort Walton, Panama City, Tallahassee, Gainesville, Jacksonville to the right of us, and to the left of us, there's Mobile, New Orleans, Ocean Springs. Then you go farther out. But I feel like Pensacola is right in the middle. So what can I do to help bring some dance stuff here so people travel to us? Because I like traveling, but not all the time. So I'm a little bit tired driving all these hours this way. Let's get some people coming here. So
it's a great way to get the communities to come together as well, versus you having to go from here to there, but just get and create a bigger, like once a year, like you're doing that. That's awesome. I think your community is very lucky to have you. And I think they'd be crazy not to come to this event that you put on, especially because you are inviting communities to come together. It's not that far. What is it? A couple hours for the people, 2-3 hours at most?
Well, it depends on where you are. You've got the people that are 1 hour away, like Mobile or Fort Walton. Then you've got the 2 hour people,
That's
like,
Alabama, right?
what's that?
That's Alabama.
Mobile is Alabama, yes.
So you're right on that border. So it's not just
Yes.
Florida. You got that
Correct.
driving distance. So it's nice. It's nice
Correct.
spot.
Yes. Alabama, we have Louisiana and Florida. So, and actually, I had somebody from Birmingham, Alabama, the first 2 years as well. So, which is north. Um, so yeah, I think I can really gather them in, and that's my goal. I mean, I'm kind of small right now, which is fine. We meet at Haji's Shriner Temple, so it's a big Shriners facility that they are a charitable group, and it's a huge banquet hall. It's huge. It holds like 200 people, and there's a stage, but it's not theatrical lighting. It's not all that. That's my ultimate goal. But I have to start somewhere because the theaters here are expensive.
So if people want to come, let's say they're in the area and they want to check out a class with you, or they are in your area and want to check out your classes, where do they come and find you? How do they find out about you? How can they reach out to you?
You can find me on Facebook. I'm Oriental Dance by Gina at Gina Rocks. I'm also online. I have a blog spot called orientaldancebygina.blogspot.com. And all of my information is there, my class announcements, local happenings, that sort of thing. I'm there. My beginner classes meet at Pensacola State College, and they start up in September, and they will be advertised on those sites. And then my intermediate advanced class, which will be starting at a different location at Breathe Yoga Studio, and that will start in September. Thank you very much for that advice, by the way.
Very welcome.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Something else I was going to say about that, and now I've lost it.
You were saying where you teach, where you hold all your classes.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. That's where I teach. Also on my blog spot, I have created a calendar called, I've forgotten what the exact name of it is now, but anyway, you can find it. It's belly dance events of the Gulf Coast and North Florida. And I feel like that's really going to help our area too. It's starting to get out there. People are starting to contact me, message me on Facebook. Please put my event on your calendar, because I feel like there's a community here. I don't know about everybody else, but I'll drive up to 6 hours for a good workshop. Some people won't. They'll only drive 3 and then they go to a flight. But I'll drive 6. So I made that my radius. I'm listing all the events in that area. So if you want to do a road trip and maybe carpool with someone, you could. I'm not getting into Central Florida like Orlando and Tampa. The more south you go with Florida, the more belly dance happenings and events are going on, and it becomes so convoluted that it's hard to find what's going on in my area. I can't, this is 8 hours, 10 hours away. So I'm really trying to, Florida's huge. So I'm trying to keep it, North Florida and the Gulf Coast, which goes into, Louisiana and Alabama, and, even part of Texas, I guess, if you want to go that far. But I'm keeping it up in that area, and it's really been so far kind of successful. I'm getting good response with it, and people are. I'm certainly seen as an event promoter. It was hard for me to find out what's going on where, because there wasn't a central place to look. So I want to be that central place to look.
Nice.
I'm seeing that since I've started notating this, and all I did was just go to Google Calendar and just literally copy and paste what people are putting on their invites on Facebook, copying and pasting it onto this calendar, and you can go there and see what's going on. And there's a lot going on. It's surprising. There's more going on than I had previously thought. Wow. Now that I've got it all in one place. So that's cool.
That's very nice. What a great resource. So everyone watching, especially the people in the area, check out what's going on, like everything. So that's all on your website. There's a calendar
Yes.
on the website. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for applying to be part of the series. It's been absolutely lovely to get to know a bit more about you, your dance background. Oh my goodness, your career, amazing. And like I said, your students are lucky to have you because of all the knowledge that you have and all the experience that you have. So fantastic. I hope that one day I'll get to meet you in person.
Me too. I know.
Yeah, it has to happen at some point.
Absolutely.
So once again, thank you so much. And
Thank you.
till next time, bye everyone.
All right. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching the Shimmy Mob video spotlight series. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a comment below. And if you would like to be featured in the future, send us an email at shimmymob@gmail.com.